Hello and welcome to OctopusDo. Today's project is going to be a woven wire ring. Of course, I'm using my Xuron pliers. I've got the new round nose, love those, tweezer nose, short flat nose, and the micro shear. Few other things that will come in handy, I'll explain that later. Your bead of choice. And I'm using silver plated craft wire in a larger 18 gauge and a 24. First thing you're going to do is measure your finger. I'm just using a piece of paper that I wrap around my finger. And I'm going to mark where the ends overlap. That's how big my ring is. If you know your ring size, of course, that works just fine. We turn this into a measurement. I just lay it against the ruler, and I end up getting about 2.5 inches. Here's how to create the frame. I'm pulling off a length of this 18 gauge wire. I haven't cut it off the spool yet. Just have to straighten it and straighten it and straighten it. All right, so I know I need at least 2.5 inches. I'm going to cut this off at 3. That's going to give me some to work with. Some of the space of the ring will be taken up by the bead. I measured the first one, so I'm just going to get the second piece of wire by measuring it against the first. First thing I'm going to do is round off the end. Here are my new Xuron round nose pliers. And I'm using the very tip to make a very small loop. I'm pressing against my finger, not pulling the wire over in midair. Do the same thing to the second piece of wire. And just manipulate them until they're fairly matching. We do the basic wire weaving in episode 11. So we're basically doing the same thing. I'm creating a tail and wrapping that around the larger wire about 4 times just to anchor it. I've got about 1 inch left as a tail. I'm going to tell you to go ahead and pull a little bit more out. Give yourself at least 2 or 3 inches. You'll appreciate it at the end. Now notice I'm not working right against the loop. It's easier to hold both of these wires when you start a little further down. We'll slide the weaving up as we go. So I've got the second wire in my hand and I'm wrapping over both now. Then I go between. The next step is to wrap just over the top. Go around the top. And then go around the top again. And down the back. And we start this pattern over. Go around the bottom twice. Cinch everything up if you need to. Go up to the top layer. And go around the top twice. Then back down. So this is going to go a little faster because we're just repeating the pattern. Bottom twice, go up to the top, wrap around the top twice, back to the bottom. Now let's slide the weaving down. it's easier to grab the weaving part and pull the frame or the legs up. And now you've got plenty of room to keep going. Around the top twice. Back down to the bottom, around the bottom twice, back to the top. And repeat. So here's a reminder. When you get close to the other end, remember to measure against your paper. And take into account that you're going to need to have room for the bead. I have overshot the space I need for the bead, so I actually have to unwind some of my weaving. So that's what I'm doing here, just unwinding a little bit, and a pair of nylon jaw pliers would come in handy, which I didn't pull out. But you can use something like that to straighten the wire that you are unweaving, or just don't have to unweave. I don't need all of that wire, so just trim it up a little bit. And I made these legs a little too long, so I cut those off, and then I'm going to match what I did at the beginning and wrap the frame around my round nose pliers there. It's a nice little way to end off the wire. Do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to use the leftover weaving wire here to secure the bead, but first, let's make it ring shaped. I've got my ring mandrel here, and I am just going to use pressure from my hands to press the frame around the ring mandrel, around a size 7 to start with, but then I'm going to go a little bit smaller. I am just starting here to make everything even, and then sliding it out. Those loops are a little harder to bend just with my fingers against the mandrel, and I don't want to hammer it because I could break the wire. So just use my pliers to bend those inward a little bit. You see how I could really have used an extra bit of a tail there? We'll make it work. Slide one side of the weaving wire through the bead one direction, slide the other tail through the bead in the other direction. Sometimes it's hard to grab those little wires with your fingers, so that's what the pliers are for. Pull everything nice and tight. Again, easier to do with a pair of pliers than trying to do it with my hands. I'm just bending this wire at a right angle now to keep it from sliding out of the bead. Taking the longer end there, and I'm wrapping it around the loop. And then between the loops and the bead, do that a couple of times. And do the same thing on the other side, but because it's so short, again, that's where I'll use my pliers. Oh, it just barely works. Pull it around then, and I will secure that. When I get it around, I'll secure that to the back. And to do that, I'm just going to tuck it in between those looped wires. It's not in a heavy wear area, so I don't have to worry about that coming loose. Just give it a little squeeze. So I'll finish wrapping this side, so I just go around and underneath. Pull it nice and tight. Snip off the extra. And tuck this side in just like I did the first side. There we go. Kind of looks like a ring. So just by compressing everything as I went, everything looks nice and even. Fits really well. You can do this in pretty much any bead that you like. Flat beads would be great. It's really comfortable. This is one of my favorite quick projects that always looks great. Hope you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe and click on notifications to know when the next video comes out. As always, now you know, go make something.